Ever feel like no matter what you do, it's never enough? Like you're walking on eggshells in your own marriage, constantly blamed for her bad days while your own needs get ignored. Stick around because today I'm breaking down the toxic dynamic that's killing your relationship and how you can flip the script and rebuild attraction. We're going live.
We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
Happy Monday, guys. Looks like we're not going to be able to stream to Facebook again. I don't know what is up with Facebook and StreamYard, but like 2 weeks in a row, we've had problems streaming to Facebook. Screw those guys. Come on over to YouTube anyway. It's much better over here. Anyways, welcome back to an exciting week, guys. My professional podcasting dog's doing much better. I've been able to get a better idea of her glucose levels, so I think we're going to be okay for a while. She's kind of acting she's acting like she's got high blood sugar this morning. So after the show, I'm going to get a blood sample and see where she's at, but I think we're going to be okay. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Paul Bauer and I help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about doing that is that it makes us better men in all areas of our lives. You know, it's interesting. I have a Monday mornings, first thing in the morning is like so damn early too. I have a client call, you know, with one of my dead bedroom clients. And we were having a conversation this morning, and what we were talking about was having a mission, having a purpose in life. And that's the exercise for this week, was to come up with like, what are things that you're passionate about? Like, what are things that you love to do? And this gentleman was like, I don't know. I don't really like anything, you know. It's like, the funny thing is that when you realize that having a mission, having a purpose in life, having something that you're always working towards, you'll find that women like that sort of thing, right? So it's like, yeah, that'll help you level up and get better with women by having a mission, something to work on. But you'll find that your life is so much more fulfilling when you have something to work towards. So it makes your life better in general. And a lot of guys, they just sort of wander through life. They just tiptoe through life, hoping they make it safely to death. It's like, that's no way to live, man. That's no way to live. Like, find something that you love to do. You don't even have to make money doing it. It's just got something you love to do it. You look forward to do it. You're excited about it. You want to tell the world about it, you know, that sort of thing. Like, have something that you're passionate about, that you love. And you'll find that women are drawn to that. And if you aren't that guy and you're wondering why your relationship's in the toilet, it's because your wife thought that she got with a guy that had ambition, and she realized that you have zero ambition. You don't want to do anything. You have no direction in life, and you're not giving yourself direction in life. And that is highly unattractive to your wife. And it's like, no wonder she's losing attraction for you, man. She's like, holy crap, I attached my cart to a horse that's not going anywhere. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you think about it from the woman's perspective, it makes sense, but you can't do it for her. You have to do it to like make yourself a more fulfilling life. And then when you do it, by God, this is a wonderful life. Smash that like button, guys. Smash that like button, because we are having a wonderful life today. Holy shit. Hold on. There we go. I was like, the other day I had a podcast. I was like, man, it was really dark. And it's because of the same thing. I only had the one light on. I just noticed that. Okay, guys. Today we are talking about the type 2 captain dynamic. If you're unfamiliar with that, I first learned about it in this book by my good friend Ryan Stone, in Praxeology Volume 2, Dread, which is it's actually his third book. He had his first book is called, well, we can't even say it because we're not at the 8-minute mark. And then he's got a new book out now too. Where is it? I got it right here. He's got Praxeology Volume 3 just came out in December. So that's the third book in this series. And this is just field reports and stuff like that. But this book, Dread, really talks about the dynamics of a failing relationship. And one of the things that he writes about is that when men are in failing relationships, they usually land in one of three categories. You might see yourself a little bit in each category, right? But there's like one primary category you'll find yourself in. And it almost is like a progression too. The way I look at it, it's almost like guys will start out in a decent place in a relationship in the beginning, when things are hot and heavy, and you guys have you're all Twitter pated and you guys are all in love with each other. And then it's almost like a linear progression for some guys where they'll go to becoming a type 1 captain, to being a type 2 captain, to being a type 3 captain. Right. And so what are the different captains? Well, the whole concept comes from Athol K's book, A Married Man's Sex Life Primer, where he talks about how the healthiest dynamic you can have is a captain and first officer type dynamic in your relationship. That's more of a Star Trek reference. Me being a sailor, I wrote about it in my first book as a captain executive officer, because I'm like, I'm not a Star Trek nerd, but I am a sailor. So a captain executive officer dynamic, however you want to look at it, right? Where you're ultimately in charge of the relationship, you're setting the tone and leading, and she's supporting your mission, right? But she also has you'll take her ideas under advisement because your executive officer, it's also a leadership position. She's just not in charge, right? You're in charge. Well, the problem is that guys start deferring to their wife. They start, making mistakes or whatever. They stop, setting the tone and leading. And then she's got to step into that role because if in a vacuum, the universe hates a vacuum. In the vacuum of a leadership role in the relationship, someone's got to fill it. And she's going to feel like she has to do it. And then when she does, she's going to feel a lot of resentment for you. So type 1 dynamic is called the drunken captain and is begrudging first officer. And that's where you're making a lot of mistakes. You're not really setting the tone and leading. And so she's just sort of like jumps in, or else she feels like you're going to run the ship aground, right? So she's like, I got to steer the ship now. And then she hates you for it. The type 2 captain, which is what we're going over today, is the neurotic captain and his constantly complaining passenger. So your wife isn't even acting like your first officer. She's not adding any value to the relationship. She's not helping you with anything. All she does is she expects you to lead the relationship. You don't know how to do it because you're not decisive. You don't know how to set boundaries. You don't have any goals or anything like that. And so anything that you do, she constantly complains about. Any problems in her life, she pisses and moans at you. Even if you do try to set the tone, she doesn't think that you're doing it good enough, and she complains about it, right? So you're just constantly walking on eggshells around this woman. Going, how do I make this chick happy? And you can't figure it out. So that's the type 2 dynamic. Type 3, which we'll get into next week, is the captain and her husband. So basically, the captain's completely let go of the reins of the relationship. Just let her lead the place, let her drive the ship, and then he just sits back and then does whatever she tells him to do. And then she hates him for that too, because that's not what she really wants. In her monkey hindbrain, she knows she wants a strong leader in the relationship, but she can't find one. So she just walks around saying how she's an alpha woman all the time. And then she ends up being sort of the dominant one in the relationship, but secretly deep down, she wants a guy that's more dominant than her. Right. So what she ends up doing though, is she ends up just finding an enabler. And then she resents the guy because he's too much of a pushover, but still, she thinks she wants that, but it's one of those things where women think they want things, and then when they get it, they don't like it. You know what I mean? Women. Am I right, guys? So we're talking about the type 2 captain today, the neurotic captain and his constantly complaining passenger. Before we get into that, oh, and also let me say this too. I mentioned it last week, but Ryan didn't come up with that idea. He got that from a guy named Jack 10 of Hearts. Back in 2015, Jack 10 of Hearts actually sort of came up with this idea of the 3 dysfunctional captains. And like everyone in the Red Pill forum was like, holy crap, like you're spot on, dude. like that's like after thousands of field reports, everyone ends up in the same, one of these 3 categories. And the thing is that fixing the stuff, the same thing that will fix all of them will fix any of them, typically, except for the type 3 captain. The type 3 captain, usually that woman is looking for an enabler. And that's like the hardest dynamic to change. And once you do step into the leadership role, and what you'll find is that there's so much tension in the relationship that you've outgrown her in your sexual market value. It's probably best to leave that type of relationship. But type 1 and type 2 captains are definitely fixable. So that's good news. That means that 2/3 of the negative relationship negative relationship dynamics out there can be fixed. So that's good. That's a positive. That's a net positive, guys. All right. What was I saying? Oh, I was saying, guys, do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday without fail. If you guys are watching live right now, so far there's about 22 people watching. Sound off in the chat. I want to hear from you guys. I like hearing from you guys. Plus, dropping comments in the live chat boosts our algorithm. It tells YouTube that we're getting engagement, and they're like, oh, if people are engaged, they're actually enjoying this content. So just drop your favorite emoji or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But seriously, if you have any questions about this, or if anything that I talk about resonates with you, where you're like, oh, that was me at one point, and like, let us know your story. Okay. And then consider sending a super chat with that, because that helps support the show probably more than anything else. All right. So what is a type 2 captain? I already sort of talked about this a little bit, but basically it's a man who takes responsibilities for all problems in his marriage while receiving no credit for successes, right? So he only gets recognized for all the bad stuff. He never gets recognized for any of the good stuff. It's almost like I look at it like it's can't win theater. And when I say can't win theater, if you guys remember the old Man Show that used to be on Comedy Central back in the 90s, they had this concept called can't win theater, where the husband's like trying to do everything right, and his wife is like, nothing he does is right, and the wife's just complaining about it. Can't win theater. Now, here's the thing. I am a big proponent of a guy taking ownership of everything in his world. I'm a big proponent of the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. I talk about it a lot in the Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence psychology paradigm, of having that mentality of owning everything in your world, including everything in your relationship. So taking responsibility. I think that is a good thing. But what you can't take responsibility of, and you can't take ownership of, is your wife's feelings and emotions about things. And that's that's where a lot of guys run into problems, right? Because guys really actually have a natural propensity for empathy. Like, we take on those feelings, and when we know that things aren't going right for her, we're like, oh, we've got to do something to make her happy. Like, this isn't right. I don't like her feeling bad. That's the one area where I'm like, you can't own that. You can't own her feelings or emotions. So take on the responsibilities and ownership of the relationship, because it's your job as the captain to own everything on the ship, right? But if she doesn't like how you're doing things, who cares? That's not your problem. It's not your job to make her like what you do. You're doing what's best for the relationship. You're setting the tone and leading. She can take it or leave it. So that's one area where I'm like, don't worry about how she feels about how you're leading. You know what I mean? As long as you're leading and you're doing what's best for the relationship and for you, like she could go cry about it all she wants. Just, laugh at her because she's a whammon. So another thing is that his wife acts as a constantly critical passenger rather than a supportive first officer. So she never offers anything to help. All she does is complain about what you do all day, right? And so this type of captain, he ends up kind of being neurotic, because he's just like, oh crap, like how is she going to be pissed off today? Like, how, like, he's just constantly putting out little fires trying to make her happy, right? So he walks on eggshells, tries to appease her emotions, which are unpredictable and often turned against him. But here's the thing, and we'll get into this more, right? But the more you try to do that, the more you try to make your wife happy, the more you try to, dance around and try to squash any type of tension in your relationship, the more she resents you for it, because she doesn't want you fixing everything. She doesn't want you trying to make her happy. So the more you try to do it, the more unhappy she gets. You understand? It's almost like a negative feedback loop. So stop doing that. And then it's typically rooted in codependent dynamic where the man equates love with conflict resolution and emotional caretaking. This type of dynamic really happens a lot for nice guys, right? Guys with true nice guy syndrome, usually guys who were raised by single moms and their moms are sort of, maybe a little, BPD or whatever. And their moms are constantly like have crazy emotional roller coaster swings. And so they learn from an early age that mom doesn't have any solid rules. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason why like boys respond very well to fathers in the relationship, because typically fathers are good at setting rules and boundaries. And it's like, as long as you don't violate the rules or the boundaries, like dad's cool. Like all I know is, okay, if I follow these rules, dad's cool, right? I'm not going to piss dad off. But moms, because they are so controlled by their emotions, a lot of times women aren't very good at that sort of thing, and that kind of structure and setting those clear rules and boundaries that are always adhered to. And so there's certain days where mom, like, maybe mom's had a tough day at work and she's tired, is she doesn't really care about the rules that much that day. So, she has no rules anyway. So she's just like, whatever you do, I don't care. Just don't bother me. I'm having a glass of wine, right? So you do whatever and she's okay. But then the next day, for whatever reason, whatever you're doing that you did yesterday that was fine, now today pisses her off. So now she's mad at you and you're like, what? You never said I couldn't do that. Like yesterday it was okay and today it's not. I don't understand. So what boys tend to learn from single mom households is that I don't know what the rules are. All I know is that as long as mom's happy, she's not yelling at me. So they just learn to, I've got to make mom happy. I got to make mom happy, right? And that carries over into their relationships later in life where their wives act the same way because women are women. And they're like, I don't know. She's just not happy today and I got to make her happy, right? So they learn this, like, got to keep her happy dynamic, and it's just completely unhealthy. And one thing I was explaining to one of my clients over the weekend is that a lot of men, they spend all their time trying to squash any kind of tension in the relationship. Like if their wife is remotely upset, they're trying to like immediately ease that tension by apologizing, by doing something nice, by whatever, just to try to ease that tension. And I said, women need drama. Like women need that tension in order to build an attraction in the relationship. And so if you're just constantly trying to like squash any form of tension in your relationship, good or bad, eventually the attraction is just going to die because there's no tension there. But women need that. They need that sort of that emotional tension and tug of war with you to feel attracted to you. They need that shit. So it's like what you need to do is treat everything like a shit test and just not take it seriously and have fun with it, right? Like if she's feeling mad or whatever and she's pissed off, she thinks that you're cheating or something like that, that's when you agree and amplify, right? And you just playfully tease her about, well, I do have a hard time juggling all these bitches. You know what I mean? But that kind of stuff like makes things more, adds a little bit of tension, gets her hamster wheel working, but it's healthy. It's healthy emotional anticipation and tension. That's stuff, you need that to build attraction. But all you guys are squashing all that at all times because you need me. I need my peace, bro. I need my peace. It's like, if you just want peace, like don't date women at all. Like women don't ever bring you peace. Okay, they'll never bring you peace ever in the history of ever. All right. So that's basically what a type 2 captain is. Hopefully that makes sense so far. Guys, if you haven't done so, follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I'm on all the good platforms. Get on my email list.comeonmanpod.com. I'll send you my, you immediately get access to my free ebook, She's Made You Weak. A guy left a review for that, and it was, I think it was kind of a negative review. And he's like, all I learned from this is like what kind of label to put on what dynamics happening in his relationship. It's like, well, yeah, it's a free ebook. You're not going to fix a complex relationship issue with a free ebook. Okay. But at least we'll give you some insights on where you're at and what's happening in the relationship. Right. Like y'all out here trying to fix like complex relationship issues with free shit. No, you can't do that. But you know what you can do is you could buy my new book, Get Her to Fuck You Again, at books.comeonmanpod.com. It's available in paperback and hardcover and Kindle edition. You can actually find it if you search for it on Amazon now. I fixed the search issue, so that's good. Because I was like, man, no one's ever going to find this book if I can't search for it. But just search for Paul Bauer in books, and you'll find all three of my books. Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18, Psychology Paradigm, and Get Her to Fuck You Again. But Get Her to Fuck You Again, like if you really want a complex, comprehensive guide on changing the dynamic of your relationship, that's the book for you. And then, if you get to the end of the book and you're like, I don't know where to start, I don't know how to really implement this, I need someone to hold my hand, like that's where I have coaching available. So you can book a free call with me by going to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com if that's something that you need, which is fine because lots of guys need that. One of my clients said the other day that he's been reading these books, these relationship books and red pill books for the last 2 years. He just didn't know how to apply the information until he started working with me. That's fine. Okay. That's nothing to be ashamed about. Like, do you want to solve this problem or not? Right. If you want to solve the problem and you want to solve it faster, book a free call. All right. But the book is out for some of you guys that are a little more go-getters. You guys are, sort of like to try things on your own first. Get the book, Get Her to Fuck You Again. Let me play a commercial for that. And then we'll get back to the type 2 captain dynamic.
Are you tired of the dead bedroom? Wondering what happened to the passion, the connection, and the spark? Well, here's your answer. Introducing Get Her to Fuck You Again, a red pill guide to fix a dead bedroom, now on Amazon. This isn't about manipulation or tricks. It's about real strategies that work. If your wife has stopped being intimate with you, it's not because the love is gone. It's because the attraction is gone. And that's fixable. This book will teach you the skills to lead your marriage, rebuild your confidence, and become the man she can't stop thinking about. 3 reasons to get this book. 1. It breaks the cycle. You'll learn how to stop doing the same things that are killing her attraction and start doing the things that reignite it. 2. It's practical and proven. With clear, actionable steps, you'll build yourself into the man you were always meant to be. 3. It works for men like you. Paul Bauer has helped hundreds of men just like you fix their dead bedrooms. And now, it's your turn. Don't let another day go by feeling frustrated and disconnected. Go to Amazon right now and buy Get Her to Fuck You Again. Read it, apply it, and watch your marriage transform. The connection isn't gone forever. You just need the roadmap to get it back. And this book is it.
Paul, why do you use the same music in all your commercials? Because I fucking love that one. It's such a good like royalty-free song. I'm like, man, whoever put that together, God bless them. Let's see here. Tim Tillman's in the house, still hanging in. Good, man. Good to see that you're still with us. Nurse Chick says, so glad you're type 0 captain, babe, in complete control of the relationship. I appreciate you. Nurse Chick, she says she gets this. She gets this for that little outburst.
So naughty.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna come.
You know it. And then and then let's see here. Michael's in the house. Anxious, preoccupied men with avoidant women. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of attachment theory. Like there's some interesting stuff with it, but typically I find that a lot of people with attachment styles, they sort of look at attachment theory like it's deterministic. Like I'm always an avoidant, right? I'm always anxiously attached, whatever. It's like you can fix that. You can actually reprogram yourself to be more of a securely attached person, which is like the ideal, in that sort of dynamic. Which, by the way, I have a friend, one of my 3% brothers. He he's just went through a breakup, and he's got a little bit of an anxious attachment style going on, where when he finds a good woman, like he really has a hard time getting over her. And I was like, I got my next book that's coming out this summer. I got the outline for that. You want to take a look at that? Take a look at my notes on that. So he's looking at that. He's like, holy crap, dude, this is spot on, bro. I'm like, yep. So that'll help you get over that. Especially if you've gone through a breakup and you can't stop thinking about your ex or whatever, like that book, look for it this summer. It's called Forget That Bitch, a red pill guide for breakups or something like that. I got to work on the title. Anyway. So what problems does this dynamic cause? So we're talking about the type 2 captain, right? What problems does it cause? So it causes emotional exhaustion. The husband becomes anxious and frustrated due to constant criticism and blame. And he internalizes her emotional turbulence as his failure, right? She's not happy. I'm not making her happy. It's my fault. It's my fault that she's not happy. Right. Like I said before at the beginning, it's very important for men not to own their wives' or girlfriend's emotions. You can't own. She's going to feel how she's going to feel. Now, one of the things that Michael says here, he says, it's not that they need drama. The problem is that women usually not help. The woman's not usually healthy and feels her emotions, and therefore being, invalidated when you try to push her emotions down. Yeah, that's the thing about women, right? Like, women are emotional creatures, and they don't want you to fix their problems. They just want you to sort of validate and understand their emotions, And that's the hardest thing for guys is guys are like, fuck your emotions. Here's your problem. Let's fix the problem. And women hate that, right? That was another conversation I had with one of my clients this morning, because his wife actually, we're not even halfway in, and his wife barely talked to him for months, in years. And now they woke up early this morning. He always gets up early, but they were both up early, and she was like sharing him like some of her fears and anxieties and things that she hasn't shared with him in a long time. And I asked him about it. I go, let me ask you a question. When she was telling you all this stuff, like, were you telling her, like, giving her solutions, like, hey, this is how you fix that problem? And he goes, oh yeah, I was telling her she should do this. It's like, oh, don't fucking do that, man. Don't do that. Like, you can't own her emotions, and like, women don't want you to solve the problem. They just want you to listen. So it is so hard for us. It's so hard for guys because we are hardwired to fix problems, And so I sent him it's not about the nail video. And I was like, you got to be more like it's not about the nail, and just go, oh yeah, that must suck. Right. The thing is that once you realize that, it's really freeing when you realize that you don't have to own her emotions. You don't have to own her problems. And you can just, you just be a listening ear and go, oh, that sucks. And that she's going to solve her own problems is really freeing when you're like, man, I don't have to deal with her shit. I can deal with my shit, and she can deal with her shit. And this is great. And then if you ever have if you're ever confused, right? If you're ever like, I know there's a clear solution here. I really am just chomping at the bit to tell her to pull the nail out of her head. Just ask her, hey, do you want my advice or do you want me to listen? And most of the time she's going to just say, oh, I just want you to listen. But if she says, oh no, I'd love your advice. Okay, cool. We'll take the fucking nail out of your head, you dumb broad. Right. That's how you handle that sort of thing. But don't just offer that stuff. Like, men and women, neither of us like unsolicited advice, but for different reasons, right? Women don't want your unsolicited advice because they just want you to listen. Men don't want unsolicited advice because they feel like you're stepping on our manhood when you're giving us advice that we didn't ask for. You know what I mean? So like, it's just a good habit not to give people unsolicited advice in general. All right. Loss of respect. This is another problem, right? Loss of respect. The wife doesn't see him as a competent leader, further diminishing her respect and attraction, right? She, like, everything you do, she just doesn't think you do it right. And so because of that, she loses respect for you. And women can't love a man that they don't respect at the end of the day. It's impossible for them to love you if they don't respect you. There's a lot of unhealthy communication going on in the relationship. So any attempt for the guy to assert himself leads to an escalation, often leaving him resentful and her unsatisfied, right? Now, here's the thing is that most guys don't know effective strategies to assert themselves. They end up in order to assert themselves, they end up just yelling more, which it's like throwing gasoline on the fire. It doesn't help the situation. There's better ways of doing it. A phenomenal book on this sort of thing, on assertive language and setting and enforcing boundaries is When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. Can't stress that enough. It's a sidebar must read. Listen to that one on repeat, okay? Because that one will help you in this. In fact, Jack 10 of Hearts says that When I Say No, I Feel Guilty is your Bible. If you are a type 2 captain and you really want to fix that dynamic, listen to that book on repeat. There's going to be inconsistent intimacy in the relationship because sex ends up being transactional, often following explosive arguments, which creates a real toxic cycle, right? She starts fights with you just to have makeup sex with you because that's the only time sex is any good. The rest of the time is like she doesn't want doing it, and that pisses her off more. So she starts doing more things to nag at you because you're not dicking her down right. Yeah. And then it builds up a lot of resentment, right? Over time, both people grow resentful, right? You get resentful with her because all she does is bitch and moan and complain and you can't do anything right. Well, fuck her, right? So you build up a lot of emotion or a lot of resentment there. She feels like you're not leading the relationship right and you're not doing anything right and you're not making decisions and you're not being assertive and you're not setting boundaries. So she resents you for not being a good enough leader in the relationship. So having both people with all this resentment, it erodes the foundation of the relationship completely. You see what I'm saying? See where this could be problematic? Oh, man. Good times, guys. Good times. Hey, I haven't mentioned it in the last couple of podcasts, but join Beer Club, guys. beer.comeonmanpod.com. It's a good group of dudes. We have about 50 guys in there, all swapping notes with stuff like this. If you guys have recently gone through a breakup and you're back on the dating circuit, we have a bunch of guys swapping dating notes in there right now. It's like really popping off because this guy, one of the brothers in there, he lit a fire under his ass, and now he's hitting the dating circuit hard, and so he's dropping notes. People are swapping notes with him like crazy in there right now. So if you're out enjoying new year, new me season, which every January, the dating market gets flooded with new chicks. They wait until at the end of New Year's to dump their husbands and boyfriends, and they flood the dating market with their eye on Valentine's Day. And so there's tons of women out here right now looking to hook up. So take advantage of that. Get a beer club, swap some notes with the boys if you want to get better at dating. And then, like I said before, if you guys are in a type 2 captain dynamic or type 1 or type 3 captain dynamic, okay, and you want to change that around in your relationship, book a free call with me by going to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. My coach is calling me in the middle of the podcast. Bro, I am not taking a call right now. Okay, anyway. Go to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. All right, let's get on with this here. Ooh. Yeah, subscribe, hit those notifications, guys. So what's the solution here? What's the solution? Well, one, you got to recognize the codependent nature of this dynamic, right? You got to understand that taking a responsibility for her emotions is a learned behavior from childhood, most likely. Most likely, this is something you learned, right? Consoling a parent. Maybe your mom was, kind of neurotic, and so you were just constantly, trying to make your mom happy all the time. There's a lot of guys find their way to the red pill space who had moms like that, and then they end up in relationships like that, right? You've got to learn how to set boundaries. I was recently a guest on a podcast, and the host actually said it very, very well. Being able to set boundaries in a relationship is a lot. It's a lot like being blind in a cave, right? If you're if the light's out, you're in a dark cave, you can't see anything. If you can feel the sides of the cave as you're walking around, like you feel pretty safe and secure. Like, okay, I've got my boundaries here. I know where I can go and where I can't go. I feel safe and secure, right? But if you go to push on the wall and the wall caves in, like you're like, oh crap, like what am I going to hold on to? How am I going to get out of this thing? And you're not going to feel safe and secure in the cave. Well, your wife's the same way with you and boundaries. If you can't set effective boundaries, if you can't tell her no, if you can't be more assertive in your communication and be more decisive, all that kind of stuff, she feels like the walls are going to cave in if she puts her hand on the wall. And women are inherently security-seeking creatures that respond to strength in a man. All right. If you really want to break down women into oversimplified terms, women are security-seeking creatures that respond to a man's strength. Right. So if you can't set boundaries, if you aren't assertive, if you're not decisive, that's she looks at you like you're weak. She can't respect a guy who's weak, and she won't be attracted to you. You understand? So you've got to learn how to set boundaries, right? Stop tolerating disrespect and establish clear expectations for mutual respect. Okay. You want to use techniques like fogging, negative inquiry, and negative assertion to handle criticism without escalating conflict. Now, like I said before, when I say no, I feel guilty is like your Bible in this type of dynamic. You learn fogging, negative inquiry, and negative assertion in that book. Like he really beats it to death in that book. It's a really good book. But basically fogging is where it's almost like agree and amplify without the amplify. Like your wife says that, man, you can't ever cook the dinner right. So you agree with her and go, yeah, there's some times where I'm not very good at this. Am I? Yeah, you know what? I'm not the best chef in the world. Right. But you're agreeing with her. You're not amplifying the situation. You're just sort of agreeing, but you don't care. It's almost like agreeing with indifference. That's fogging. And because if you agree with her, there's nothing to fight with, right? You're not disagreeing. Arguments come because of disagreement, right? But if you agree with her, she's like, yeah. Why isn't he fighting with me? Right. Negative inquiry is where you sort of like ask them a question as like, like let's say you can't ever cook right. You ask them a question like, well, what makes you come to that conclusion? Like what did I do that makes you feel like I can't cook right? That you're asking a negative question. And then negative assertion is like where you basically same thing, but you're almost like making a statement with it. It's the best way I can describe that. If someone has a better way of describing it in the comments, like feel free. But all that kind of stuff handles criticism without escalating. You know what I mean? And then holding frame. Holding frame is paramount in any relationship, right? But you want to develop a strong mental frame and stop reacting emotionally to her volatility. And that's the biggest thing. And when guys start working with me, like during week 2, that's the first thing that really starts moving the needle for these guys. Because week 1, basically we do like a relationship autopsy, and we're like, okay, what attracted her in the beginning, and where are you at now, and like where's that gap, And then I in that week, I teach them like, you guys start leading. You guys start setting the tone and leading in small areas, whatever it is, right? And then week 2, it's handling shit tests and being able to deal with like her emotional storm. And that week, I'm like, you can't take them seriously, right? Don't take them, whatever they say, seriously. Like it's either funny and amusing to you, you agree and amplify it, all this kind of stuff. You don't have to explain yourself anymore. The king doesn't have to explain himself to the subjects. I have them sort of take on that mental model. And what they find is when they realize that what their wife says doesn't matter, right? And they can just sort of look at it like like she's the most responsible teenager in the house. The whole dynamic starts changing, right? Because they stop reacting to her emotional bullshit and they look at her for what she is, which is just an emotional woman, like, okay. And that allows you to hold frame, right? That's why being able to handle shit tests is so paramount, is because you stay in your frame, which is, I'm not taking what she says seriously kind of thing, right? And then you want to show constant desirable behavior that aligns with your values. And so like frame is more than just emotional control. It's your whole worldview, and like anything outside your worldview like doesn't impact you. And as soon as you start allowing other people's views and opinions to start impacting you, you're now operating in their frame. So once you realize that concept, you're like, oh, I'm not allowing other people's ideas and opinions to impact me. Now you're operating in your own frame. That becomes a good way of just going through life in general, right? But women really respond well to that. And then you want to instill dread, right? You want to instill dread without malice. So dread, get Ryan's book. You really want to, what Ryan really advocates for in his book, basically all the stuff that I teach in my book too, Get Her to Fuck You Again. You basically are just working on improving yourself. You're making yourself just the best possible version of yourself for you. You're not really worrying what she's doing, right? But by doing this stuff, working on your map, the male action plan, I put the map in my book from Athol K's book. I talk about the map extensively and have you work through the map in my book. And one of the reasons why I wanted to take the map and sort of modify it for modern times in a new book is to get it into an audio version that guys can listen to on repeat, because there's no goddamn audio version of Married Man Sex Life Primer, right? And so I had to write a whole new goddamn book just to make sure that guys have that as a tool in their toolbox. But you want to apply the map, which is really just working on stuff like your social skills, your finances, your fitness, you know, all that kind of stuff. Basically your money's muscles, game, and frame, if you want to simplify it into like the core four. You're working on all four of those areas, right? And by doing that, it makes you a naturally attractive guy that other people respond to. If you're out in town and you're chatting up people and you're very social, and like your wife starts seeing that like women, you know, at the Starbucks counter are sort of laughing at all your jokes, that instills dread without you even having to do anything bad. You're just being a social person. You're not actively going out asking for numbers and like cheating on her and stuff like that. But that just you being a social person gives her social proof that you're a happening guy that other people like to be around. That naturally boosts attraction. Also gets her thinking, holy shit, if I don't step up my game, this guy could have any chick out here that he wants. Like, look at how these women are responding to him. And that instills dread, right? Without you doing anything bad, right? It's passive. It's very passive. But you want to do that not to try to get her hamster wheel going, right? Like, you want to get her hamster wheel going, but you don't want to enjoy the process of instilling anxiety in her, right? You want to not like sort of take her out of your focus at all and just work on being the most attractive guy possible. But when guys do instill dread and then they enjoy like how like their wife like being a neurotic hamster, right? Like that causes dread to fail. We talked about it last week, right? Where how you're going to fail at dread. It's because you're doing it like almost out of resentment. You know, you're like, fuck her. She hasn't fucked me in so long. Screw her. I'm gonna fuck her over by banging all these chicks outside the marriage and stuff like that. Like, that's a good way to blow things up, not in a good way. And then you want to seek professional help, right? So here's the thing. If your wife is a cluster B, right? A lot of guys end up with cluster B type women or end up in this dynamic, right? If your wife ends up being like a true cluster B, like a narcissistic person, histrionic, borderline BPD kind of person, she's going to need professional help, right? You can't fix her by leveling up yourself. She needs specific professional help, right? And then you as the neurotic captain in this relationship, you need a good coach. you You need to get yourself a coach. Oh, that's the wrong one. You need a good coach, right? Book a call with me by going to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. Okay. At the very least, get my book. All right. But you need professional help. Okay. If you're in this dynamic. And then the degree of difficulty. So we have here high degree. So this dynamic often involves deep-seated behavioral patterns and emotional baggage. So you got to work through that. Wives with pathological tendencies may escalate or resist change, leading to heightened drama. That's going to be a major problem. That's why it's best if you can convince her to go get help. But I'll tell you what, it all has to start with you. All right. You can't change other people. You can only change yourself. So if you were working with me and you're putting a lot of work in and you are making massive improvements in your life and instilling that dread game, right? Instilling dread in her, she's going to be more motivated when she starts seeing all these positive changes in you. And then she realizes, oh crap, he's doing all this stuff and he's not dealing with my bullshit anymore. And she starts getting all neurotic and stuff like that. That might be a situation where you go, do you want my advice or do you want me to listen? And she's like, I want your advice. And you say, I think you need to work with a professional, right? Like you need to nudge her in that direction kind of thing. The husband must ensure shit tests and comfort tests, the husband must endure shit tests and comfort tests, including accusations and indifference and threats of leaving. Right. You have to really get good at handling shit tests with her. And my rule of thumb is treat anything a woman says like a shit test. If you, anytime a woman gives you a shit test or even talks to you, just assume it's a shit test and always be indifferent or agree and amplify, and you're going to be fine. You're going to be able to handle anything she does because you don't have to sit there and constantly think, is this a shit test or is she serious? Right. Just always assume it's a shit test and you'll end up being fine. Moderate. So if the wife is emotionally needy but not pathological, it's the difficulty's less, right? So it's a moderate difficulty then, right? Holding frame and consistent self-improvement can eventually create a healthier balance. She's going to start responding well to your changes. Okay. But if she is pathological, there's no way around it. Yeah, there's no fucking way around it. She needs professional help. And if she won't do it, you need to reevaluate whether she's a good candidate for long-term relationship material, long-term relationship, because it's not healthy for you to stay in that dynamic. And I know like some of you guys are church going guys and, getting divorced is a sin or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's your life. It's your life. And, you need to make decisions that are best for you at the end of the day. And guess what? Even if you're a Christian, all you have to do is ask for forgiveness and you get into heaven for free. It's one of the best deals, one of the best deals around out of any of the religions. But I do like for anybody that's going through any of these captain dynamics, I highly recommend doing the work before just pulling the trigger and immediately jumping to the divorce option. That like divorce is kind of like the nuclear option, in my opinion, because what you'll find is if you don't do the work, right, you're going to get back out in the dating circuit. You're going to struggle a little bit. Some guys are able to get dates fine, but they'll end up attracting another person just like this. And they end up in the same relationship with a different face. And it's like, if you don't work on your shit, you're the common denominator. And no matter what relationship you're in, if you don't work on your shit, you're going to have the same problem. So work on your shit now when you have a perfect sparring partner right in front of you that knows all your bullshit. Because if you can run game on your wife, you can run game on anybody. You know what I mean? And then if she gets on board, great. If not, well, you're in a better position for when you do move on. But you're at least moving on from a position of understanding, and you're being more offensive than defensive. Most guys just sort of let things happen to them until their wife ends up filing for divorce, and then they complain, 80% of women file for divorces. Yeah, it's like, be a little more proactive in your life, right? Be a little more proactive. Some warning signs. The wife who relies entirely on the husband to manage her emotions may not be compatible with the new dynamic, right? So once you've been running the map for months, you get my book, you've been implementing stuff, you're listening to it on repeat, you hire me as a coach, whatever, and you go down this road for 6 months to a year, and you start noticing that you're leveling up, people are responding to you in public, you're more of a social person, your wife just isn't changing for the better. Well, you can't control other people. Like, at that point, you need to really wonder, like, if she's the best candidate for you or not, right? She might not be compatible with this new you. And that's a good time to really start looking at talking to an attorney and planning an exit strategy, right? But you want to do that from a position of understanding, right? Understanding, being more offensive. That way you're not blindsided by the stuff. You can actually start putting the stuff in motion yourself, instead of like waiting and being put on the defensive, and now everything's an uphill battle, right? So you have to be prepared to end the relationship if changes lead to irreconcilable conflict. That's just where it's healthy for you to always have that mental mindset. You always have to have almost like one leg out the door, because the cardinal rule of relationships is that whoever needs the other person the least has all the power in the relationship. And most of the time it's men who walk around with a scarcity mindset going, I'll never find anyone better. I'll never be able to find anyone again. She's my soulmate. Right. And women, they don't think that way. Women sort of naturally operate from a place of abundance because they always have guys, in their DMs all the time, and they have male orbiters all the time. Men just don't have that. So men operate from a place of scarcity. But once you work on this stuff, you become more of a social person. You realize how many options you really do have. You realize that there's 8 billion or 4 billion women on the planet, that, you are a high value male that could easily get someone better. You don't operate from a place of scarcity anymore. You operate from a place of abundance. You know that if things aren't working out, you can, you have full control to leave at any time. When you do that, the thing is that you won't have to leave most of the time, because you're not operating from a place of neediness. You know what I mean? Like, when guys have a scarcity mentality, they inherently act more needy in the relationship, which is unattractive behavior. But when your wife realizes that you don't need her, that you're, like, that actually boosts her attraction to you, because she's like, oh, this guy doesn't need me. He's he's above me in some way. And I need to add value to his life in order for him to keep me around. Like, that's where it gets women more invested. It's a weird situation, right? So if you have that mentality of being able to walk away at any given moment, that actually puts you in a better position, and that actually makes you more of an attractive guy. So it actually ends up working, for the dynamic of the relationship. So it's just a good mental model to have in general. You know what I mean? That's why we say in the space, the stay plan is the same as the go plan. Like, no matter what, you're going to be working on yourself to make yourself the best possible attractive guy, and she either gets on board or she doesn't. But either way, you win. You will either end up in no matter what, you're going to end up in a loving relationship with lots of sex. Okay. It just might not be with your wife, but if it is, cool. Right. Oh man. Okay. That's all I got for this episode, guys. Hopefully you got a lot of value out of it. Tune into the podcast on Wednesday. We are going to go through chapter 1 in my new book, Get Her to Fuck You Again. So that chapter is all about understanding the betatization process. So if you haven't ordered the book yet, get it on Amazon, read along with us. And then we'll be going through the main concepts every week for the next 10 weeks on Wednesdays. But get the book now. Go to books.comeonmanpod.com. You can find it in my author's page on Amazon. The audiobook is done. I submitted it last Thursday night, so it should be available on January 15th. It takes about 10 business days for Audible to approve it. But when I uploaded it, there were no sound quality issues that were detected. So knock on wood, they should approve it. If not, then it takes another 10 days once I fix the audio problem for them to approve it. But I'm feeling confident. It should be available on the 15th. But if you guys like Kindle and all that kind of stuff, it's available now. So get the book and then tune in on Wednesday. We're going to go through chapter 1. And if you guys have read my free ebook, She's Made You Weak, and you really want a better understanding of changing that dynamic, definitely get the book there as well. All right. That's all I got for this week, guys, or this Monday. It's not for the week. We have 2 more episodes this week. Like, subscribe, hit those notifications. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thanks for everyone that sounded off in the live. I appreciate you. I didn't see any super chats. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. But I'll tell you what, when you guys don't send $10 or $20 super chats, I don't get demonetized. So that's a bonus, I guess, in itself. Follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Get the free ebook. She's Made You Weak. I'm putting tips out on emails again on things to do to start changing the dynamic in your marriage. So when you get the ebook, you'll start getting emails with very helpful, actionable information. Check out my books. I've got 3 of them now. Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18, Psychology Paradigm, and Get Her to Fuck You Again, all available on Amazon. Go to books.comeonmanpod.com for that. Get in the beer club, beer.comeonmanpod.com. It's a good group of men. It's a good place to be social with other guys and swap notes. And then I mentioned it a couple of times, if you guys need help, if you guys are in a type 2, like if everything I talked about today resonates with you and that sounds like your dynamic in your marriage and you want to turn that around, book a free call with me by going to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. Oh, crap. Kamal sent a 249 euros. He's okay. All right. He's a beer club brother, so he automatically gets bumped up to the $10 super chat. Let me play that and then we'll end the show today. Hold on. Here we go. $10 super chat.
Thank you for the super chats. Movies bouncing, can't stop that. From the east to the west, you are the best. Keep those chats coming in to fill it all again.
All right. We'll see you guys on Wednesday.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. New full episodes served hot every Monday morning on your favorite podcast platform of choice. So subscribe now. Follow Paul on social media. The links are in the description. Now, go out and get it.